If you're 35 and barely started investing, you are not out of time, but panic can put you even further behind. The real catch-up plan is not a hot stock or one giant contribution. It is 5 moves in the right order, and the first one may already be hiding in your paycheck. By the end of this video, you will know what to do with your next dollar, how to choose a monthly amount you can actually maintain, and how to increase it without wrecking the rest of your life. Because I know what happens when you open Instagram and see some 22-year-old talking about retiring at 40. Your stomach drops. They have apparently been investing since middle school, while you're still trying to remember the difference between a Roth IRA and a 401k. I know that feeling. I know what it is like to make money, pay the bills, and still wonder why you are not getting anywhere. Starting at 35 does mean you have less time than someone who started at 22. I am not going to lie to you about that. But you may also have more income, better judgment, and a much lower tolerance for wasting another 10 years. After 15 years working around retirement plans, I have seen normal people build real money. It was rarely because they found a genius investment. They followed the right order, and the first move is probably not the one you think it is. Before you search for a better stock, check whether your job is already offering you money. If your workplace retirement plan includes an employer match, contribute enough to receive the full amount if you can. That match is part of your compensation. You already worked for it. Leaving it behind is basically telling your employer, you can keep that part of my paycheck. Suppose you earn $60,000 and your employer contributes 50 cents for every dollar you put in, up to 6% of your salary. You contribute about $300 per month and your employer adds another $150. Now, $450 is going toward your future, but only $300 came from your paycheck. Your formula may be different, so check your actual plan. Find the contribution required for the full match and make that your first investing target. While you are in the account, do not let the investment menu scare you into doing nothing. I have watched people freeze because they did not understand every fund listed. They were terrified of making the wrong choice, so they made no choice. Then 1 year passed, and then another. You do not need to become a market expert before your next paycheck. Look for a simple, diversified option that fits your time horizon and risk tolerance. That could be a target date fund or a broad, low-cost index fund available inside the plan. Start with a reasonable choice and learn as you go, get the full match, then improve the plan over time. But an employer match cannot protect you if every surprise goes straight onto a credit card. That is why the second move is not another investment. The car starts making a noise. The dog needs to see the vet. Your phone dies 2 weeks before payday. None of these things care that you finally started investing. That is why your next target is $1,000 in cash. Not invested and not sitting in a stock you hope will be up when the transmission dies. Cash, that first $1,000 is not there to make you wealthy. It is there to stop one annoying week from turning into 6 months of debt. Without a buffer, every emergency knocks you backward. You invest for 2 months, something breaks, and you pull the money back out. The rest goes on a credit card. Then you spend months paying for a problem that already happened, and you start believing investing does not work for people like you. The investment was not the problem. It had no protection around it. For me, building that first buffer required admitting something uncomfortable. I was being stupid with money. I printed my bank statements and went through every charge because I was tired of wondering where everything went. That is when I saw it. I was paying $350 every month for a car I barely drove. It was pure ego. The car did not make my life better. It made me feel like I looked successful, and there is a difference. Selling it felt embarrassing. A few people thought I was overreacting, but 3 months later, I had my first $1,000 sitting in the bank. Then an emergency bill showed up. Normally that would have meant a credit card, stress, and months of carrying a balance. Instead, I paid it. There was no racing heartbeat and no calculation of how long I could ignore the bill. That was the first time the plan felt real. Selling one car did not make me financially free, but it gave me my first taste of what freedom feels like, having options when something goes wrong. If $1,000 feels impossible right now, start with $250, then push toward $500. Move a small amount from each paycheck before you can spend it. Sell something you no longer use, pick up an extra shift, or cut one expense that barely improves your life. Later, build a larger emergency fund based on your expenses, job stability, health, and responsibilities. For now, create enough distance between the next surprise and your credit card. Once new debt stops appearing, you can finally attack the debt already following you around. If a credit card is charging you more than 20%, it does not care how hard you are working. It keeps taking. An investment return is never guaranteed. The interest on that credit card statement is very real. So after you capture the employer match and build the starter buffer, expensive consumer debt becomes the major target. This is where people create a false choice. They think they must either be an investor or pay off debt. Real life is not that clean. You can contribute enough to receive the match, keep the starter emergency fund in place, and send most of your extra money toward one credit card. That keeps the investing habit alive while attacking the thing draining you. Do not spread the extra payment evenly across every balance just because it looks organized. Pick one target. You can attack the smallest balance first because seeing it disappear creates momentum, or attack the highest interest rate first because it usually reduces the total cost. Both methods can work. The important part is seeing one balance clearly move. When 5 balances each fall by $8, it feels like nothing is happening. When one falls from $1,200 to $900, then $600, then $0, you can feel the plan working. When that balance disappears, do not let the old payment quietly become takeout money, upgrade money, or a more expensive car. That money already had a job. Give it a better one. Move it toward the next debt, the larger emergency fund, or your investment amount before your lifestyle realizes it is available. That is when catching up begins to accelerate. Now we can answer the question you have probably been waiting for: how much should you actually invest at 35? People want one clean answer here. Invest this percentage or put away this exact amount. Now, I understand why, because a number feels certain, but someone earning $40,000 with credit card debt is in a completely different position from someone earning $80,000 with no consumer debt. So you need both a starting number and a destination. Your starting floor is the amount required to receive the full employer match. If you do not have a match, it is the amount that can leave your account automatically every month without being canceled 3 weeks later. Your next milestone is to work toward 10% of your gross income going to retirement. From there, build toward 15%, counting the employer contribution if you receive one. Starting at 35 may eventually require more, depending on what you already have, when you want to retire, and how much income you will need. That is why the final number should come from an actual retirement projection, not somebody else's screenshot. Review that projection at least once a year. If it says you are still short, the honest levers are investing more, earning more, retiring later, or adjusting the goal. Taking more reckless investment risk is not the automatic answer. Do not hear 15% and force it tomorrow if that sends you back into credit card debt. Build toward it. Go back to the person earning $60,000. If the employer match requires a 5% contribution, the first target is about $250 per month before the employer money is added. Then the starter emergency fund gets built and the expensive debt starts coming down. Once there's breathing room, the contribution rises by 1 percentage point. On a $60,000 salary, that is roughly another $50 per month. The plan may move from $250 to $300, then 6 months later to $350. When a credit card disappears, part of that old payment can take it to $450. That is what catching up normally looks like. It is not one dramatic deposit. It is a system that becomes stronger as your finances improve. If your starting amount is only $100, your job is not to compare it with somebody investing $2,000 online. Your job is to automate the $100 and look for the next opportunity to increase it. I have watched this happen inside retirement plans again and again. Someone starts at 4%, a raise comes through, and it becomes 5%. Later it becomes 6%, then 7%. There is no dramatic moment, the contribution simply keeps climbing. That only works if every raise does not immediately disappear into your lifestyle. Most people think a raise will finally create breathing room. Then the paycheck gets bigger, and life expands to absorb it. The apartment gets nicer, the car gets newer, a few subscriptions appear, you order food more often because technically you can afford it. 1 year later, you earn more, but feel exactly the same. You need an increase rule before the raise arrives. You could raise your retirement contribution by 1% every 6 months. You could send half of every raise toward your future. Half improves your life today, and half helps prevent you from working forever. When the car is paid off or a credit card disappears, redirect part of the old payment before your lifestyle claims it. You still get to enjoy progress. Your future simply gets a piece of it too. Then automate the contribution. The investment should happen before you hold a monthly debate about whether this is a good time. Do not wait to see what is left over, because money without a job usually disappears. Keep the investment itself simple. The account is not the investment, it is the container. A workplace retirement account, Roth IRA, or traditional IRA holds investments inside it. A beginner can use a broad, diversified, low-cost option instead of trying to guess which company becomes the next giant winner. Aggressive does not have to mean buying 3 stocks and praying. Be aggressive about your savings rate, automation, and increasing the amount whenever your finances improve. Those are things you can control. But even a perfect automatic system has one weak point: the person looking back at you when the market falls. The first major drop after you begin investing feels personal. You finally do the responsible thing, put the money in, and then the account falls. It feels like the market waited for you. You see that you were down hundreds or thousands of dollars. The news says everything is falling apart, and people online suddenly become experts on why this crash is different from every crash before it. Then your brain offers you a deal. Sell now, stop the pain, and get back in when everything feels safe. That sounds reasonable when you are scared. But by the time things feel safe again, prices may already be recovering. People sell after the damage is visible, sit in cash waiting for good news, and return later at a higher price. You need a crash rule before the crash. Here is mine. The automatic investment stays on. I do not check the account every day. I do not make a major financial decision immediately after watching financial news. If I feel an overwhelming need to sell, I wait 48 hours and ask one question: did my long-term goal change, or did only the price change? Most of the time, your retirement date did not disappear because the market had a terrible week. The price moved. Your emotions moved. The plan did not. That does not mean every individual investment recovers or that you should ignore a portfolio that no longer fits your life. It means a broad, diversified, long-term strategy is built around surviving downturns, not predicting every one of them. Write the rule before you become emotional enough to break it. When people say financial freedom, it usually sounds like a private island, a sports car, or never working again. That has never been the version that mattered most to me. Freedom arrives much earlier. It is opening an unexpected bill without feeling your chest tighten. It is knowing you can leave a job that is destroying you without becoming homeless next Tuesday. It is helping someone you love without putting their emergency on your credit card. At first, investing feels like numbers moving on a screen. Then, those numbers begin changing how you experience real life. A car repair becomes annoying instead of devastating. A layoff becomes a problem to solve instead of an immediate crisis. Your emergency fund buys time, and your retirement account buys future choices. One day, someone you love calls because something went wrong. Maybe your mom's roof is leaking, or a family member needs help with an unexpected bill. A few years earlier, that call would have sent your heart racing. You would have wanted to help, but helping them might have meant hurting yourself. Now you take a breath, look at the numbers, and say, I can help. And you mean it. That is the freedom I'm talking about. I am not saying this as someone who always made perfect choices. I was the person paying $350 a month for a car I barely drove because I wanted to look like I had everything together. I know what it feels like to earn money and still feel behind, but I also know the road forward. You do not have to solve everything today. You have to make the next correct move. Get the match. Build the buffer. Attack the expensive debt. Automate an amount you can maintain. Then increase it as your life improves. That is how you go from feeling trapped to having options. But here's the frustrating part nobody warns you about. You can do all of that, invest consistently, and still feel broke every month, even on a $70,000 salary. My next video breaks down where that money actually goes in 2026 and which expense to fix first. It will be out in a few days, so subscribe to Max Stats Finance so you do not miss it. I'll see you in the next one.